What's up guys, it's Ian here, back today with another video, and today I'm here to bring you a chest workout. Today marks the beginning of a new training block. If you watched my last video about taking deloads, you'd know last week was a deload week for me, and a deload week is a great time to reorganize your next upcoming training block. So for this training block, I've substituted in and out a few different exercises based on my current goals and item availability. I'm going to start off with the band resisted dip. I'm going to warm up with one set of body weight dips, and then we'll start the working sets after that. When I'm programming dips into my workout routine, I like to use them somewhat sparingly, even though I do really like the exercise. At the bottom of the range of motion, your arms get pretty far behind you. I like to do dips about once a week. When I do them too much more frequently than once a week, I run into some overuse issues. I think it's very individual dependent, and maybe you will be able to tolerate a higher frequency of dips than other trainees. Just keep in mind that your ability to tolerate a specific exercise is very individual dependent, but on average, a good frequency for most people is to perform the dips about once a week and get your other pressing exercise volume from exercises like handstand push-ups, bench pressing, push-up variations, and many other exercises that are a little bit less stressful on the shoulder joint. But one of the main pros of the dip is the ability to produce a high amount of force in that position and get a significant amount of overload while performing the various dip variations. Whether they're band resisted or you're putting weights on a dip belt, all of these variations can be a very effective way to overload the chest and triceps. In today's workout, I'm going for 3 sets of 8 repetitions with these band resisted dips. If I was going to perform weighted dips, I'd probably work my way up to a single top set of my heaviest weighted dips and then accumulate a bit of extra volume with the back down sets of lighter weighted dips. So the manner in which you organize the intensity of the training session is also going to depend on what modality you have accessible to you. When I'm performing weighted dips, I really like to aim for that top set paradigm and get my volume with back off sets, but with the bands, it's a bit more manageable to go for straight sets, potentially either starting with a heavier band and working your way to lighter bands, or even just putting a little bit more slack onto the band as you fatigue. That way you're still able to complete the desired number of sets and repetitions without inducing too much fatigue and messing up the rest of your workout. A major similarity between the banded dip and the weighted dip is that I like to hop to the top of the range of motion and start my first repetition from a straight arm position. Whether I have the weights on the belt or the band on the back of the neck, I like to use my legs, hop into the position that I want to start from at the top, and then lower myself down, get that pre-stretch reflex at the bottom, and that's really going to help you produce more force on this exercise. So if you're having a tough time on dips and you're trying to start from the bottom, consider hopping to the top, establishing that support position that I've talked about in a lot of the previous videos, and make sure you're starting all of your dipping variations from a stable support position. Now, the next exercise is going to be the wall-assisted handstand push-up. Today, I'm just going to perform 2 sets of 5 repetitions on this exercise. I'm going to work on trying to get my hands as close as possible to the wall. I know in the past that I've been a little bit too far away from the wall, so that's definitely a major point that I want to work on. So I'm going to aim to do less total sets and hopefully have a higher quality of technique. It's one of my goals to eventually be able to perform a freestanding handstand and freestanding handstand push-ups, but for now, I will use this wall. I have a feeling that walking your hands up the wall into that handstand push-up facing the wall is probably at least as taxing as doing a few repetitions of the handstand push-up. So I feel like if you're able to kick into the wall-assisted handstand push-up position, that alone might add 1 or 2 repetitions to each of your sets. It's just really fatiguing to walk up into that position, and also make sure you factor in that you need to save enough energy to safely walk back down from that wall. I've said this in past videos, but in case this is the first time that you're watching me perform this exercise, make sure you don't go to failure on these wall-assisted handstand push-ups, because you need enough energy to get back down. You don't want to collapse or fall over in an uncontrolled manner. Once you're able to comfortably maintain a freestanding handstand position and you have a lot more space around you, maybe even a spotter, that will enable you to take your handstand push-ups a lot closer to failure without as much risk involved. Just factor in your amount of experience and level of comfort with the handstand position when you determine how close to failure you want to take your handstand push-ups. Next up, I'm gonna take a few repetitions of water, and then we're gonna do 3 sets of 5 repetitions on the rings turned out push-ups. If you want to fast track your way to the rings turned out push-up, consider working on the rings turned out push-up position and ring push-ups to rings turned out at the top of each push-up with the height of rings that you plan on using on the rings turned out push-ups, and that will fast track you to being able to do the full rings turned out push-ups with the palms facing forward for the entire time. And those can also be 2 fine prerequisites before the rings turned out push-up if you can master both of those 2 exercises. Keep in mind that if you're just meeting the bare minimum requirements, the rings turned out push-up might still feel extremely strenuous, so ease into the exercise and be aware that it will probably be more difficult if you're barely meeting the criteria as opposed to overshooting the criteria. Alright, just finished the 3rd set of those rings turned out push-ups. Now I'm going to perform 2 sets of 20 seconds of the rings turned out support hold. I moved the rings turned out support hold to the middle of my workout because I noticed, since it is supporting your full body weight with a locked elbow position, that it is somewhat stressful, so I think it could be a good idea to be at least somewhat warmed up before performing this exercise. If you want to perform the rings turned out support hold at the beginning of your workout, consider taking a 5 or 10 minute walk before you do this exercise, so that way at least your heart rate will be increased and your body temperature will be a little bit higher before you get into it. When you're performing the rings turned out support hold, try to focus on keeping your head high, try to look straight ahead. It can help to focus on one object, pull your shoulders back, squeeze your glutes, and you want your legs straight underneath you, or even imagine them being slightly behind you. I find that if you let your head drop down, it causes the shoulders to roll forward, so keeping the head upright is really critical to getting the body in a straight position for the rings turned out support. Next up, I'm going to perform 2 sets of 5 repetitions of tuck planche push-ups. Just finished up those tuck planche push-ups. Now to finish off today's workout, I'm going to perform 2 sets of tuck planche knee drops. I'm going to start out in the tuck planche hold position and then perform as many repetitions of the knee drops to the advanced tuck as I can while trying to maintain a protracted shoulder blade position. This exercise isn't so much about the number of repetitions, it's really about how much time can you accumulate in that advanced tuck position. This is a good transitional exercise if you can't yet hold the advanced tuck for any significant amount of time and you're kind of stuck in the tuck planche position. Consider trying out these knee drops and really try to take your time in that knees lowered position. It can definitely be helpful to have a training partner give you real-time feedback while you're performing this exercise. If you have a training partner who knows what to look for while you're performing it, it can be really hard to actually tell if you're performing this exercise correctly as you're doing it. So if you don't have a training partner with you, consider recording your sets while you're performing these knee drops. If you're losing the shoulder blade protraction or the back is becoming excessively extended, then you're really not getting the most out of this exercise, and I would consider either doing less repetitions or just going through them more slowly to really try to get that higher quality technique. Really try to keep your hips as high as you can, and you'll know that you're performing this correctly if you feel a lot of tension developing in the abs, and when you watch your replay, you'll be able to see that you're still maintaining that rounded back position with the protracted shoulders. If you lose the shoulder protraction and your spine becomes more extended and you don't feel this exercise in the abs, that can be a sign that you're just losing the back position. So really try to maintain that back position, and you should feel a lot of tension in the abs as you lower the knees. Even if your hips are a little bit too low, you can still generate a ton of tension in the abs while you're performing this exercise. But for the best effect and the most carryover towards the advanced tuck planche, really try to keep those hips as high as possible, keep the shoulders protracted, and keep the spine in a relatively rounded position. All right, that's all for today's workout. Thank you for coming and taking the time out of your day to watch today's video. And as always, drop a comment down below and let me know what you'd like to see in the next exercise tutorial, vlog, or question and answer video. And I'll try to take those suggestions into account, and your comments will reflect on the next video that I make. Again, thank you for coming and watching this video, and have a good day.